you seem to have had this. I'm witnessing this. Is there something that makes it so that these things happen to only certain people? Because like we're here to tell the tale, but like maybe this could have been a completely different direction where I would have just squashed everything and lost everything. And philosophically, I'm trying to reconcile that.
Jason, it's in the water. It's in the water.
Fluoride, got it.
It's the fluoride. It's the fluoride. Dr. Strangelove.
Got it.
No, I just think a lot of us are because we're getting pushed to the extreme in communication, the deluge. I mean, the choices we have to watch television at night are compared to when I grew up when there were 4 channels and you couldn't record anything, right? We are having to parse this in ourselves, which means in a lot of cases, rejecting 90% now of what's coming to us and coming at us. Meaning we've been trying to press ourselves to fit the 90%, the 100%, and we say, no, I can't. Not going to do that. And the fear I think you're talking about, like especially as us, as entrepreneurs, people with our own businesses, we want to make, just say it flat out, a certain amount of money. I have to, right? I've got 2 kids and a husband and a house and a dog and a cat, and I need to make a certain amount. But beyond that certain amount, we're examining the drives that come to us. The hustle is to reach that certain amount, right? To cover it. Because if we don't, we have no sense of inner safety. And not only that, but the gifts that we're really, really good at are not going to be utilized because we're going to end up working for somebody else, going into a different field. Sure, I could go back and become an art director again, or maybe an editor. I've got a bunch of other skills that I've moved through over my life, but they wouldn't be the greatest skills that I have to give. So my goal is to create that enough safety around me that then I get to really embody and enhance what I consider my most sacred or my most, the biggest skills that I've been gifted with. And I get to pursue them and I get to enhance them. Now, when I'm doing it, it's kind of really selfish because it's me discovering, well, how good of a coach can I be? Like, how much can I change people? How much can I bring them in the flow? How can I, make this teaching so crystal clear? But it's also making the biggest impact in the world because of my focus on that. So what I'm doing for me ends up being what I'm doing for others to a much higher degree than if I was just sitting and, laying a book cover design out. So that for me is sort of the guidance as to how big do I need to grow. I don't think that was quite your question, but the giving myself the time and the space to reach it. Yeah. Giving yourself the time and the space to reach it, I think only happens once you've achieved your basic security level. Mm-hmm. And the danger to watch out for is we tend to keep increasing that level. A lot of us have a kind of emotional lack thinking around our income. I see it all the time with my own clients. I'm like, you're making $100,000 now. How do you feel? Great, but it's not enough. In fact, I'm in debt. I'm like, okay. Now you're making $150,000. How do you feel? Well, I'm feeling better, but I just had to spend all this, and and now I had to get these employees, and okay, you're making $300,000. How do you feel? It's like the horizon will move forever. And eventually we stop and say, why do you persist in putting yourself in this energetic, emotional, monetary lack? Why do you do it? And it turns out often that we've learned that lack is the only thing that we know that will guarantee us that we will make it and get it. So in essence, we're relying on a negative emotion for our success. And I say, if you don't break that cycle, you're going to be 78 years old, still hustling, and it will not be enough. And you'll have millions in the bank, and it will not be enough. And you'll have put yourself there because the only way you actually built was based on, I don't have enough. And that is the fire that will continually propel you until it consumes you. I said, wouldn't you rather learn how to build something not based on fear, but based on, I trust this will work. I trust that I'm good enough for this. I trust that the right people will find me. I trust that I have as much voice in this world and deservingness of a voice as literally A, B, and C, and D person around me. I have a name for this. I call it self-selecting. And I use it for myself all the time. I know that Wayne Dyer at some point, I knew him well, chose himself to be a teacher. He said, I will be Wayne Dyer. I will impact. I will do this. And then other people started to look at him and go, we like you. But until we self-select, I will be at this level. I will be that teacher. Because what happens instead is we tend to wait for other people to recognize us first before we get that. But they're just going to go walking right on by until we self-select and say, I will be that person. So it's our choice. Who is that person that I'm going to choose to be? And to go back to what size company am I going to grow? And on what energetic, emotional basis am I growing it? Because if you start your company that way, your company's just going to keep rolling off the edge of a cliff in that direction until you have that, come to Jesus moment, like you and I have had, where we go, no, I'm not going to grow based on that anymore. I know that was a lot of different thoughts all together, but I think they kind of go together in a way. It's a web.
I'm like, am I on the receiving end of a podcast or an intervention? Like, geez. And it's
what I do.
But Summer, like, I'm hoping for everybody else listening is also having a kind of, we call it coming to Jesus moment. But like, I'm listening to you, and that's that moment you said, like, the fuel from the lack is what motivates you. Like, I've seen that happen to me in so many categories of my life. The most fit I'll ever be is when I'm single and hating myself.
Yeah.
And the most amount of money I would typically make is when I'm in the most amount of crisis. I end up really fueling myself up to do what is necessary to make it. And I'm just like, ooh.
Yeah, you're using that.
Maybe I could use a different source of energy here.
I tell people, I say, you're like a junkie. You're like a drug addict. You're using lack and you're using fear because that's the only thing that you guarantee will get your ass, or sorry, can I say that? Get your butt into gear to make sure you succeed. You rely on it. And it's intensely scary to stop relying on that. It's intensely scary because what we realize then is I don't trust any other method. And I'm like, look, there's 1,000 other methods to get you where you want to go. And this goes right back to what you were saying, I think in the beginning. When you're ignorant, it's almost easier, right? Because you're not using, you're curious, you're wondrous. You're being led by desire, very different feelings. And that's often when things happen easier for us. We have a tendency as we age to look back earlier in our career and say, well, that was just, I fell into that and it just worked and I had a good boss and I had all these good things, but now it's so much harder. Why do we reach that spot? What's changed? If anything, we're more expert. We're more seasoned and salted and wisdomed up than ever. We have more tools in our pocket now than we ever had in the beginning. But now those tools are dragging us down.
Damn.
Are we talking about selling it all here? We can, but I think we're talking about this metamorphosis and how we do things and how we run things, and especially ourselves.
Thank you so much for listening to the Selling with Love podcast. We have some previous episodes you can tune into right here. And if you prefer the short form content where you get to the point in under 10 minutes, we do have a ton of clips from our best episodes that are being shared on this channel as well. So pick which one supports you the most. And of course, thank you for liking, subscribing, and of course, selling with love.